point, the exemplar he used was one Johnny Wilkinson.
Can we begin with your autism? Because I've read two accounts. It's diagnosed with autism and global development delay, or that global development delay is a consequence of autism. Are they linked or separate?
No, they're separate.
Right.
Two separate things. So obviously it's not called Asperger's anymore, but it's called ASD, so autistic spectrum disorder. But I was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder, old money, Asperger's in '88, and then a few months separated from that, and I was diagnosed with a global development delay.
Okay, and it's the global development delay that explained the inability to speak.
Yeah, the inability to speak, and then the consequential delay in terms of learning to read and write. But which is always an interesting thing, because I've obviously been fortunate to occupy a few kind of media spaces in the last couple of weeks, and I think there's this presumption that I must have been significantly disadvantaged, but I keep kind of emphasising to people it was beautiful. It was there's a stillness in the paralysis of speech, which is you're able to observe the world and human interaction in very unique and different ways, and so for me it was brilliant, and it's something that really kept me just observing human interaction itself is quite a remarkable thing, and cues and stuff, and it's amazing how as human beings we don't actually have time to do that. A lot of our interactions with people are transactional.
Yes.
But
not observation.
Just purely based on observation, and like I said, that paralysis of speech, you kind of you're in this kind of state where you're almost in this cocoon, and you're learning how to engage with people in different ways, even though you can't verbalize. And then I guess it comes to the fore when you become an 11-year-old, and while you're still kind of learning the dexterity and lexicon of speech, you get to 18, 20, and especially when I was at 20 and I first went to university. And you learn to engage with people, and you realise all of those kind of salient lessons, those salient observations as a young child, it comes to the fore when you're meeting people you don't know.
Yes.
And you have to be able to cultivate relationships with people very quickly and glean trust and all of those types of things. And it was hugely advantageous. At 22, I remember asking my lecturer, she just got her PhD, and I said to her, "What's a PhD?" And she said, "It means I'm a doctor, and it's something you won't have to worry about because you're just about doing okay here."
Right.
And I didn't take any offence to that. I thought she's right.
Yeah.
But I thought that's going to be an aspiration. So I went back home that night, and I spoke to Sandra, and I said to Sandra, "Have you heard of this thing called a PhD?" And Sandra's like, "Yeah, it means you're a doctor. You end up becoming a doctor. Not one that can save people's lives, but
Sure.
a doctor nonetheless." So I said, "Oh, okay." I said, "I think I want to do one."
Why? Why did you think you want to do that?
To this day, James, I couldn't tell you why.
Okay.
I just remember thinking I want to do one. And by the way, I have no obsession with titles.
Sure.
On my bank cards, I've not even changed. I'm still Mr.
Yeah.
So it's not even necessarily aligned with titles. I don't know why. I just remember thinking I wanted to do one. And he burst out laughing. And I was like, "Well, what are you laughing at? What's so ridiculous?" And when he composed himself and he'd kind of become more sober in his thought, he said, "You know what would be more ridiculous than you being at uni now? You getting a PhD within 11 years of learning to read and write."
So he got it in a way.
And he said, "I'm not laughing because I don't think you can do it.
Yeah.
I'm laughing because I think it's game on." And I was like, "Okay." But he said, "If you're going to do it, these are the things you need to do.
Right.
And you need to be beyond obsessively disciplined." And so at that point, the exemplar he used was one Johnny Wilkinson.
Oh, for the kicks.
Yeah. And he said, Johnny Wilkinson's obsession was always deemed as an unhealthy thing.
Yeah.
Something Johnny Wilkinson
Himself.
now says
Yeah.
is an unhealthy thing.
Yeah.
But in the height of his career, it was the thing that took him to the kind of levels.
If he hadn't know his name,
right,
today,
wouldn't know who he
would
is,
we?
right,
So
exactly.
it's give and take, I guess.
And I remember sitting. I was sat on this talk, and Sir Clive Woodward was delivering this talk when I was at university, and he said, people say obsession's a bad word, but obsession has made Johnny Wilkinson at that time the best fly half in the world.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking about this thing of obsession, and I thought, okay, I'm going to have to be obsessive, and subsequently over the next 7 years, that's what I did.